You know, for literally thousands of years, from ancient cultures thinking dreams were messages from the gods, all the way to our modern neuroscience labs, humanity has been obsessed with one single question. What are dreams actually for? So in this explainer, we're going to dive right into the science and psychology behind this incredible nightly mystery.
Yep, we're going to tackle that central mystery head-on. Why do we dream? I mean, it's a question that really gets to the very core of who we are, right? It's about our consciousness, our memories, and what it even means to be human. And this is a huge deal, because get this, we spend a full 1/3 of our entire lives asleep. Just let that sink in. That could be decades spent inside a world our own mind is just making up. So you have to wonder, what on earth is going on in there? All right, let's kick things off with one of the biggest, most widely accepted theories out there in science. And the idea is pretty simple, actually. Dreaming is just our brain acting like a super efficient filing system.
The official term for this is memory consolidation. Basically, the theory goes that our dreams are the brain's way of sifting through all the junk from our day. It's like a little mental night shift worker, sorting everything into piles, deciding what's important enough to file away and what can just be shredded.
And when you look at the neuroscience, it's absolutely fascinating. So, during REM sleep, that's the stage where we have our most vivid dreams. Our brain is just buzzing with activity. We're talking about key areas like the hippocampus, our memory hub, and the amygdala, our emotional center. They are just firing on all cylinders. And this whole process, it doesn't just sort our memories. It's actively locking in and strengthening the stuff we've learned.
Okay, so filing away facts is one thing. But it turns out dreams are also super important for how we process our feelings. This one's called the emotional regulation theory. A psychologist named Rosalind Cartwright really championed this idea, suggesting that dreams are like a safe, symbolic playground. It's a place where we can work through all those unresolved feelings without any real-world consequences. So, say you had a really tough day. Your dream that night might just be your brain's way of unpacking all that stress, free from the rules and constraints of being awake.
I mean, just think about the difference for a second. When we're awake, our thoughts have to be logical, right? We're hemmed in by social rules. But in a dream, all bets are off. Our minds are totally free to be symbolic, wild, and emotionally raw. It's almost like our brain just boots up a completely different operating system just to handle our feelings. All right, so we've got memory and we've got emotion. Sounds pretty purposeful, right? But what if it's not? What if dreams have no purpose at all? What if it's all just random brain static? Now, this idea completely flips the script, moving us away from hidden meanings and toward the idea of simple neural noise.
And of course, look, you can't even begin to talk about dream meanings without bringing up Sigmund Freud. He's the one who famously called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. For him, dreams were these secret, coded messages revealing all of our deepest, most repressed wishes and fears.
But then, modern neuroscience rolls in with a totally radical counterargument. It's called the activation synthesis theory, and it basically says dreams might not have any inherent meaning at all. Instead, they're just our brain's best attempt to stitch together a story from completely random electrical signals. And that idea is, well, it's pretty profound, because it challenges our fundamental human need to find meaning in everything. What if dreams are just biological noise?
So how does that even work? Well, it's pretty straightforward. It all starts down in the brain stem, which shoots off these random electrical bursts during REM sleep. Those signals then travel up to the cerebral cortex, which is basically our brain's storyteller-in-chief. The cortex gets all this chaotic random input and just does its best to make sense of it, to weave it into a story. And that story, well, that's your dream.
Okay, but let's pivot one more time. Let's look at a theory that puts purpose right back at the center of the conversation, but from a completely different, almost primal angle: dreaming as a survival rehearsal.
This is known as the threat simulation theory. And the argument here is that dreaming basically evolved to be a kind of prehistoric virtual reality simulator. Think about it. It allowed our ancient ancestors to practice their fight-or-flight responses, running from predators, facing dangers, all from the complete safety of their own minds while they slept. It's literally a mental training ground for survival.
And this whole idea of a rehearsal space doesn't just stop with surviving threats. It also seems to apply to another one of our most defining human traits: creativity.
Believe it or not, some of the biggest breakthroughs in human history in both science and art were literally born inside a dream. Let me give you a couple of my absolute favorite examples.
Okay, first up, science. There was this chemist, Auguste Kekule, and he was completely stumped. He'd been trying for ages to figure out the structure of the benzene molecule, Then one night, he has this dream about a snake biting its own tail, forming a circle. He wakes up, and boom, that's the answer. The structure was a ring. A single dream solved one of the biggest puzzles in chemistry.
And then there's music, and this story is just as wild. So Paul McCartney wakes up one morning with this entire perfectly formed melody just playing in his head. He was so sure he must have stolen it from somewhere, that he'd heard it before, that he actually spent weeks playing it for people, asking if they recognized it. Nobody did. And that melody? It became the song Yesterday, one of the most famous songs of all time.
Okay, let's recap. We've got dreams as a file clerk, a therapist, just random static, a survival simulator, and a creativity engine. It's a lot, right? Which brings us to the big, obvious question. So, which one is it? Which theory is actually right?
Well, the most likely answer is kinda all of them. It's not an either-or situation. What modern science is telling us is that dreams are just incredibly multifaceted. They're probably doing all of these things, maybe even all at once. They're helping our memories, processing our feelings, running threat drills, and sparking our next great idea.
So in the end, we're kind of left with this beautiful, complex idea. We might not ever have one single simple answer for why we dream. And you know what? Maybe that's the whole point. Perhaps the mystery itself is part of the beauty of it all. Dreaming is this incredible, nightly bridge between reality and our imagination, between memory and meaning.